gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. How are you doing? How are you doing? Yes, Mina, my awesome abogada gamer lawyer at the mics, at the cam, at hosting this amazing international sports live program. How are you doing?
I'm really good. Even if it's Monday, I feel ready because I know I'm going to have you, and we have a lot of amazing guests today. We are going to have a roundtable discussion with a really interesting topic, and I think we have marvelous guests here. So I'm really excited. And how are you, Laura? My amazing caster and writer, you commenter, create content creator. You are everything, my girl.
I'm doing fine. Today's Monday, but it's not the Monday Monday I have encountered. And I'm very excited for today's roundtable because I'm bringing some of the people I admire most in the sports industry. And we're talking about a role in the sports universe that sometimes it's a little bit underrated. You know, when you are watching a match, a fighting game match, or a League of Legends match, there's a voice, couple of voices that bring you all the excitement of the match, that tell you what's going on the screen, and bring you all the joy and all the hype and also all the wisdom within the game. So we are talking today about how to shine at the mics, the quest of the commentators or casters. And today we have three talented casters in the fighting games community, in the League of Legends, Valorant, Riot community that are going to appear anytime soon. So first we have an amazing lady who comments on mostly every European fighting games tournament. She's specialized on Guilty Gear Strive, Multiversus, Multi Blood, Type Lumina, Blast Blue. And she has shined at the Salty regular tournaments, at the Strive Guilty Gear and the Strive Cup, specialized on Guilty Gear Strive. And she's also the founder and co-founder of Bottom Mash, which is a tournament that raises funds for social causes like suicide and so on. And the next 4th of December, we are going to have a Bottom Mash for people, for depressed people who think that life has no morals to offer. So we have here with us Jolene Koda.
Hello, how are you? I'm glad to be here, and I am excited for Bottom Mesh to prevent 4th of December for specific Irish suicide prevention lines and in Europe in general, because me and the other founder has had issues with that, so we want to help that, because that's something you can do if you are a speaky person like I am.
I was very moved when you told me that, because I think we need more events like this, and I admire you so much because you have such a wide knowledge on fighting games, and you have a very good heart as well. And also Jolene coaches some new casters and help them to shine and how to improve and so on. Also, we are bringing you here another commentator specialized in fighting games, in Guilty Gear Strive, Mortal Kombat, and she has shined at Evo, no more, no less. The Evo tournament had a very special star, who is also the co-founder and producer of Young Foot Arcades, and he created the Queen of the Hill series to promote female commentators, female gamers, and so on. Saki Sakura.
Hello. Nice to meet everyone, or meet everyone, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I'm really excited.
I'm very excited to have you here. I'm going to ask you afterwards how was like commentating on Evo. I mean, it's like top tier of the fighting games tournaments we have around the world. And I'm talking about top tier people from the world. We have a Twitch partner, Riot partner, who commentates on League of Legends, Valorant, Clash Royale, Wild Rift, PUBG, and so on. Our bow yourself to the Lizard Queen.
Bow.
Hey! Oh, how are you guys? Thank you for inviting me. I feel well happy to be here with all of you important people right here. My God.
I feel like that all the day. I think
Very
so
important
excited.
because three people matters. Everyone matters. You matter. You are loved and you matter. That's a reminder I have to do. I have to do more often to everyone who watches us. You people watching us, you matter as well. So let's tell the audience. Maybe they don't know. Some people don't know. Some people do. What does a commentator do? And which skills are required to comment a fighting game event, a League of Legends event, a Valorant event, and so on?
If you like, you can start with Lisa Queen, and then we go back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
The people with Lizard Queen, yeah, Lizard Queen. Tell us
Okay.
about what does a
Well,
commentator do?
I will say the first step is to study the game. Maybe that is the simplest one, because everyone knows you have to study the game you're going to cast. But you also need to practice on fluency, to be clear when you speak. Everyone needs to understand every word you mention, and you have to do it like faster or slower with some extra emotion sometimes, to be excited and to show the passion you feel for esports in general. But there are another times in which you have to slow down and to be analytic and to explain the game for the spectator to understand everything. So it's like, maybe we don't mention this too much, but we need to practice like and at your own. You can record yourself speaking in a certain pitch and tone and practice with your voice. I don't know how to say it in English. We call it impostar. It's like when you breathe through the
Diaphragm,
Project
I
your
think, is
voice.
the English
Ah,
term.
Your
yes,
voice, you mean?
exactly. Thank you,
Like
Jolene. That
I
is
am
it.
doing now. I'm not screaming. I'm projecting my voice. This is what you
Exactly.
do when you are intending to speak to the last row, for example. So all the room hears you.
Exactly.
So
that
I'm
is.
quitting doing this right now because I have an amazing mic here, so you can hear me.
Yes, we can. But yes, you need to breathe, like, in order to take care of your voice, because you may lose it if you use it improperly, let's say, when you cast and when you scream and everything. So that is extremely important, and we need to practice on that too.
I totally agree. Caring you for your voice is one of the most important things when you commentate, when you are a host, when you're a caster, or even if you are an actress, even not, especially if you're an actress, and so
Yeah.
on. We have to take care of our beautiful voices. And let's get to Saki Sakura. Saki Sakura. What does a fighting games commentator do, and which skills are required to do so?
Yeah, I think definitely adding a little bit to what Lizard Queen was saying is definitely understanding what's happening on the screen. Um, it's interesting because recently there was a Smash tournament that featured Call of Duty commentators actually going ahead and commentating the Smash matches, and you would think that they wouldn't know like a lot and they wouldn't really do well. But what's interesting is that sometimes even the basic knowledge is pretty good. Um, the only like con out of that, right, is that if you're not a very strong commentator where you can actually add the elements of like analytic, um,
Okay.
guiding the audience to talk about what's happening, and keeping the audience and even the players themselves like actually in tuned to what's happening on the screen, it can be a little bit difficult to do so. But that's what, like, that's in that situation for those Call of Duty players, it showed that their experience is what helped carry them during those matches, even though they didn't know about the game as strongly as a Smash commentator. So definitely just having at least the basic game knowledge is really, really important. And then also just having like confidence in your speaking. One thing that I tell everybody, and one thing that's helped me, is taking a class on public speaking actually helps a ton when it comes to commentary. And it's just because you're gaining that confidence to speak on camera and to almost speak to someone or to the audience without having to feel like you're just by yourself, or again, it's just public speaking, right? Again, these people, the audience, are not going to really be able to actually interact with you during a game, but you're almost like presenting something, and you have to have that like knowledge, that quickness, that projection of your voice. Like a lot of that, the classes for public speaking, like basic classes, actually do that. And so I would say that like having that tool or getting those tools, that's where you can actually gain and learn from.
Okay.
Totally agree. And Jolene told me when I invited her, she told me I had lots of stuff, I got lots of stuff to talk about commentating. So Jolene, tell us about what's commentating a fighting game about, and which skills are required.
So I feel like Sasi and Saki just literally gave the answer. They said it. So I'm coming this. My background is as an artist, as someone who has done public speaking. I used to be in like youth politics in Denmark for unions. I used to hold speeches. I come from a very varied background. So I approached this as an art form. And what I have slowly distilled it down to is that you are the link between the audience and what's happening. Either like if a top level player sits down and watches a game of League of Legends, whatever, they will know what's going on. They will know what is important. But if someone comes in and is new or is maybe mid-level, might not know about everything. They need to be helped to consume the thing that is important. You are essentially a guide into watching this world happen. And I think that is something I love doing. I started streaming games and music because I wanted to show people some stuff I love, and that's why I started commentating as well, because I wanted people to understand just how gosh dang cool this YRC combo is, right? That is the thing that is important to me, is the conveyance of information and emotion. Like that is boiling it down to its essential parts.
I totally agree. Also, Jolene is an amazing musician. I'm gonna say it.
She also has a hidden guitar over there, so
And a piano.
And a bass.
Oh my god.
It's so hard. It's like searching for Wally, and you find out like there are many instruments over there.
Yes.
So it's really interesting to learn from you guys that at the end, as Jolene said, you are the link with the audience. At the end, they are excited because you transmit the excitement, that hype and everything. So, but also because, as you say previously, you are caster from different games as well. Are you study for these games? Are you prepared yourself? I would love to hear it from you. So, who will like to start? Maybe we start with Jolene, and then we do it like that.
Okay.
It depends. You need to know how you yourself learn. I am very good at reading things and remembering them, especially through writing it down. I went to university and dropped out, and it was a lot of fun, but I learned how I learn well. And I think that's what you need. If you are the type of person who learns by doing, you need to play the game a lot. For me, I need that for the base knowledge, but I also, especially for fighting games, I go through a wiki. I have a large document for almost every game I commentate that summarizes the characters. And I look stuff up in there once in a while. But the important thing was the process of making that document and writing it down saved that knowledge inside my brain somehow. So you need to figure out how you actually learn, and then figure out what's important to learn.
That's really useful because I used to do that for studying law. It's the way I used to learn because if not by heart, I couldn't.
I
It
used
was like,
to do that on the high school as well, and on university on translation.
Learning how to learn is important.
really, and it's
We
a way.
actually had actually had a subject on how to learn methodology, and they taught you how to create summary, how to create a map on all the knowledge, how to distribute them, and it was very well. It sounded silly, but it was very, very, very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I imagine like both Cici and Saki will learn games differently than I do. Because it also depends on the genre. Like I love Magic the Gathering, Legends of Runeterra, like card games. And like I learned them very differently than fighting games.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's funny that you mentioned Legends of Runeterra because I just got the right partner from that game too.
Let's go.
Yes. I just got it and I love it. I love the game. I was never interested in card games. That is funny, but well, I love the game. And yes, I mean we have different methods to learn. It's also funny that I'm an English teacher, but I have a very bad memory. Like my memory sucks. I almost don't remember some points, some parts of the game itself when it finishes. So it's hard because I need to take notes and to have a lot of visual memory to play the game a lot. That is necessary for me to enjoy the game, to be immersed in it. If not, it's impossible for me to learn it. And it's also, well, I cast like 6 games, I think. Wild Rift, LOL, Valorant, Code Mobile,
And
PUBG
she said
Mobile.
so calm
Wow.
down. Like
It's a
she
long
said, like,
list.
that. It is like, oh Lord.
Yes, and I played all of
Riot
those
and
games.
Beyond.
Yes, exactly. And so yes, I need to play to also to read a lot of information, of course, about the esports system. That is important to me too. Not only the game itself, but to know the teams, the players, which teams are the best, and maybe the ones that are weaker, let's say. All of that is important to me too, and I think it's good to have that knowledge too outside the game itself, because we are in esports, like in a community too. So yeah, I mean, I learn a different way, definitely.
But it's
So-
amazing.
That's amazing. So, Saki, tell us about how did you learn games like Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear Strive, and other games you commented.
Yeah.
You also comment Melty, right?
I do Melty, I do Strive, I do Mortal Kombat, and I do Dead by Daylight as well. I'm actually trying to get into Overwatch and League of Legends as well. Just to start off, like I make it a rule as a commentator that when I was starting off, I commentate and casted games that I know really well and that like I play on a daily basis. And this is strictly because while I like, even though I have like a really strong commentary voice, what really showed off like my talent and my skill is actually knowing about the game and sharing and showing that I'm not just someone who is able to kind of like run the line like as a color commentator, more of like the analytical side, the cat play-by-play side. And that helped me tremendously, that it, even without like proper training, what took a lot of people a lot of time to get, because I play these games so competitively, I'm able to understand a lot of what like the competitors are doing. Also on like what's helped me keep up with that is actually able to take notes during commentary. So a lot of the times, like if this, especially when it comes to players, because one thing is having knowledge about the game, another thing is having knowledge about the players themselves as well. And so one thing that I tend to do a lot is whenever I'm commentating, I take a lot of notes during my time commentating, especially when the camera is like off of me and into the game itself. And the reason I do that is because one, it helps me go back and actually form my thoughts and allows me to be like, hey, this is what was hype and this is exactly the reason why it was hype. But it also allows me to give me future filler content so that when I go to like another tournament or to the next major or to whatever the case may be, I'm actually able to have already like not necessarily stats because it's a little harder to compute all of those numbers and try to get a better try to actually use data to help with the actual commentary, but actually able to talk about like, hey, this player was in grand finals in the last major, or for example, like, you know, even though I didn't commentate Melty Blood for Evo, when I went ahead and I actually spoke on the PlayStation side, I was able to be in the lounge area and actually talk about like, hey, the reason why Scrot Vermilion is like projected to win is because of X, Y, and Z, right? And that as actual data that like I've taken from all of my notes, and it's really important. So it's really comes down to like playing what you know and then having that competitive experience as well as taking notes throughout your commentary, because you never know when they're going to come into play and it's going to help you immensely.
It also sounds like it'll help with like storytelling. Like this player plays very defensively and plays like it's a traditionally offensive character, but they play very defensively, have solid defense, they whiff punish everything. That is what they're good at, so that the players, like the viewers, can say, oh, this guy does this, so they can form an emotional connection to the players so that we elevate them, right?
One thing that's like, it's unfortunate, but one thing that I've noticed from watching like League of Legends, StarCraft, Overwatch is we know about, like, we see communities like really know about like that Overwatch contenders team or that Overwatch Pro League team. Same thing with League of Legends and these players, these content creators. And it's because those casters are doing a really good job in shifting all of that data. Like they, of course, those games were meant to be like really hardcore like esports competitive games, whereas with fighting games, a lot of that work falls onto us, the commentators. And this is why I also recommend doing the games that you know, especially in the beginning and as you get better, because it's going to be easier to remember like 3 communities compared to like 10 communities, you know. Like I can name really good players in Melty Blood and in Guilty Gear Strive, even though I'm from the Mortal Kombat community, but I'm still just as strong in each of those 3 communities because I've practiced and I take my notes and everything.
Yeah. Like, I think this is exactly why the Faker versus Deft story in the league finals was so engrossing, but also because they did a wrestling style promo package for it.
Yeah.
Like,
I love it.
tournaments can do so much, especially invitationals or like finals like that. You can do so much to elevate the players.
Yeah. And how about Lizard Queen? What do you do to elevate the players and how you study? So different games, actually, because you comment like every Riot game, but and beyond, and at the same time they are very different.
Beyond.
And at the same time they are very different games, actually.
Yeah.
You told us that the methodology for every game is different, but how do you elevate players and bring this narrative?
Well, in my case, I tend to focus on mobile games. That is the ones that I'm interested in, because it is like a community that needs a lot of support that maybe PC games already have. So it's like a different type of community and everything. So I focus on that. on to know a little bit of every mobile game as possible. I mean, even outside, for example, Wild Rift, I mean, Mobile Legends, now Honor of Kings, and Free Fire, PUBG Mobile, all of those and the rest, I tend to be on Twitter all the time to check on the players, on the teams that are the best. Of course, it takes a lot of time. Of course, you need to read almost every time on the day to be on the recent news of the games and everything. And then when it comes to Riot, it's easier because since I'm part of the league partners, it's like we are always talking with each other. I mean, I have friends that are, I don't know, my best friend is one of the commentators in the BCT here in LATAM. I mean, then I have another that is for Legends of Runeterra. Then I have another ones for Wild Rift, for League of Legends. I mean, so we are always talking about this. And they are like, hey, do you know about this team and everything, and the BCT, Game Changers now? All of that. It's like, they are my friends. So we are always talking about our jobs, and we like educate ourselves through that. Even without, I mean, even when we are drinking something, right, outside, we're talking about that. So it's great. I mean, I'm always surrounded by esports, and I love it. I just, it's great for me. I can't get enough of it.
Yeah, creating teamwork is essential when you are on the mics. And also, as you know, we don't always comment on ourselves. I know commentators who are on themselves, and that's a huge work. But how do you create a duo, and how do you talk with your partner when you're creating a duo? I would like to ask you not only about that, but ask you about all the exercises you do before a gig, warming up exercises. How do you prepare? Just the moments before a tournament and so on. So we are going to start with Lizard Queen, and then we are going to Saki Sakura, and then Jolene.
Okay. Well, when it comes to exercises, the one I always do, and many people don't know about it, I realize, is to yawn before we start.
Yeah, to open your mouth, to loosen your mouth.
Yeah, bostezar in Spanish. So
Yeah,
I love it.
we do that from theater as well.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I mean, I did a course on, I don't know how to say it in English, locución.
Oh,
Voice acting.
I think it is. It's not acting itself, but it's like for radio. This one's that, yes, exactly. So I did a course on that, and this, of course, teacher told me about yawn and of course, to say the vowels like a, and all of that in a long pitch. Then, for example, we have another types like singing before commentating. Sometimes I sing just to relax more than anything else, and to practice the way I use my voice and everything. I always tend to do it for the a low tone, let's say, and that is why I always try to breathe with the diaphragm and all of these exercises to
important.
be like, yes, to have a
from
good
your diaphragm.
posture. Exactly. Oh my God, this is too difficult to talk in English. I always say it in Spanish. I'm sorry. So it's like, it's so technical, but this is the idea, to have a good posture and to breathe and to prepare to talk in a long phrase, for example. And because you can breathe inside the casting. I mean, you are casting and you cannot stop for breathing, like, because they will hear it. So you need to be already prepared with an amount of air, let's say, to speak and to make it softer. So I always do those exercises. And well, of course, you need to drink water that is not too hot or too cold, because it can hurt also your throat and all of this. And what is important too, you cannot depend on a cup of tea with lemon.
Oh.
I hate when they say, oh, you can take a cup of tea and that's it, and you will be better and your voice will be okay. No, you cannot depend on that. You need to work for
Exposed.
yes, I mean
I'm
your voice
exposed.
needs to be okay, even if you scream a lot and it's the best game you ever cast. You need to have your voice taken care of. I mean, of course, a cup of tea is great, but it's not
In my
everything.
in my defense, I will say not only a cup of tea, and it's not super hot. It's a warm cup of tea plus several water glasses.
Exactly.
Several glasses of water. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, what about Saki Sakura? Which warming up exercises do you follow, and how do you prepare with your partner, and so on?
Yeah. So, oh, this one's a loaded question. So the first one, I'll start off with my exercises. Quite honestly, my exercises are actually my stream. I actually talk. While I can do warm ups and whatnot, most of the time, what I practice on like every day is pretty much going on stream, actually pretending I'm commentating, doing research, and really just kind of like prepping my voice for the commentary side. It sounds a little bit like less like, hey, you should be like exercising before you use your voice muscle, and unfortunately that is like my I wouldn't say secret or like bad habit. It's more of like a bad habit that like I don't do the voice exercises. I don't I should take care of more of my voice, but I kind of don't, you know. I have been drinking more water. That's something that I've been taking advantage more of, especially when I've gone to majors. Because at home it's a little bit different. You already have the water, but when I first started going to majors, I would be like, nah, I won't take the water, it's fine. But then as I realized how like my voice was working throughout the weekend, I was getting like back-to-back hours of commentary, and you know it's a long day, plus you're also using your voice for other stuff like cheering in the crowd, you know. So at that point I was like, hey, okay, we definitely need to get some water in here because it's not working out too well. So yeah, water has definitely been like my best friend when it comes to actually commentating. Now, as far as like actually prepping for my partners and my future duos, one thing that I've had to do is actually do research on the potential duo or partner. Sometimes it's a little bit harder in FGC majors because they don't give you the schedule as on time as they should, which very bad on them, you know. But when they do, I take full advantage of it, and that really means like actually looking the commentators up, trying to find their casting reels, then going into the past VODs for other majors that they were in to then go ahead and see how they commentate. And in those instances where like I don't know until I get to the event, I actually talk with the commentator and I try to like break the ice before the stream starts. And I'm like, hey, what kind of commentary do you do? Oh, I'm, you know, play by play, or oh, I don't really know the game that much, so I'll probably be doing color. And that gives me the vibe. Now, that does rely on you having to be really flexible. But again, one thing that I've noticed is that because I feel like I am a strong commentator, that's an easy role for me to fill as far as like actually filling up that play by play or that color role or whatever the case may be. So it's really just about communication, researching, and then going from there.
That's a good sum up. And we were talking about a little bit about the roles of commentators we are going through later on. But I would like to ask Jolene, who is an expert on performing duos with mostly every role. I would like to ask you several roles that you can have on commentating. For example, the hype person, the analytics person. And what about commentating a game that you don't know about? And you become the person that asks all the questions that the audience has.
So a thing that shaped the way I looked at commentary a lot was that I used to be very heavily into Magic the Gathering, and I used to watch the streams of that. And one of the people, Marshall Sutcliffe is the guy who very much inspired me there, who used to commentate these Grand Prix. And he would always get these messages of like, why are you asking this question? Of course, like you already know that. But the reason the way the commentary there worked was that he was the expert who was hired and was sitting down with other pro players. So he was constantly asking them, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing Y? Because that is questions the audience has, right? And I think that's important because then you can set your co-commentator up for doing some analysis like, oh, why did this player make this decision here or why didn't they? And that shaped a lot of me of like, wait, I'm allowed to look stupid. I'm allowed to not be the expert if it helps me set up someone else. And a thing that really showed up for me then is I really, really enjoy commentating games I don't know anything about. With one caveat, I want to be in commentary with someone who loves that game. Like, I want to be on there with someone who cares so much for it. And then I can ask them the questions and I can learn alongside the audience. And I have a lot of fun learning like that. And I think that translates. And that has led one of my most reliable gigs that actually pays me is that I commentate Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles X Justice League, a very small indie fighting game. You may have seen the Hold Back to Block documentary on it. I commentate a Maturino league for that. And that's because I said, I don't know this game, but I'm in. And I showed up with a smile and was willing to learn. And my co-commentator there was the guy who ran it, who loves this game with his entire being. And I got to make him talk. And I think that's an important skill to learn, just getting someone talking passionately.
Oh, that's a new role I didn't knew about. But you put it very beautifully. You put the weakness of not knowing about a game and turn it into a strength. Actually,
well, I can't know everything, so
yeah.
especially even if it's a game I know, if I'm commentating Guilty Gear Strive and we're watching a game with a character like, let's say, Jacko, and I know about Jacko decently well, but if I'm commentating with someone who loves that character, I'm gonna let them talk about that. Like, I am going to milk that for what it's worth, because I don't think there's anything as entertaining as someone being very passionate about it.
I totally agree. Talking about passion, I know commentating is one of your passions. Which warming up exercise do you follow before a gig?
It's pretty like there's a enunciation exercise where you like count 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Then you do that with your tongue out. Like, you look like an idiot, but you do that up to 10, and then you try again, and it works very well. It helps you enunciate a lot better, especially for faster things. I usually do a vocal scale or two with an instrument to just get the range going, so I'm not going in entirely raw. Like, it's not a lot. I have water always water. I will not.
Full jar of water.
I need to take care of my voice. And like, about partners, I have found the best commentators in my experience are so good at creating chemistry, like at minute 1. And I strive to be that because I experienced that. So my goal is to sit down before, like, if it's just the 5 minutes before we're going live, that's what I'm getting. I try to make them laugh. That is my entire goal. Ideally, I have more time, but if it's just we got a couple of minutes in a mic test, try and make them laugh, make them smile, and try to get that chemistry going. Because that's way more important than anything else.
I actually testify for that. I commented with Jolene, and she made me laugh every time we have a gig.
Yeah.
It's really amazing to hear you guys, especially because I'm a lawyer, so I don't have any experience as a caster, and here I'm surrounded by them. So learning from your job and learn all the tricks that you do, and actually can help me a little bit with my role as a lawyer as well, because I will take
Yeah.
notes of all of it if I have to go to the court or something. That will help me a lot. But in this case, I would like to know more or focus on, for example, especially because I think the audience would like to know how to find a job, how you do it, if you want to find the perfect role as a caster, where you search for it, how tips you can share with the audience in order to learn from that. Maybe in this case, I'm going to start with Saki, and then
Yeah.
with Jolene, and then with Lisa.
Yeah.
Let's start.
So at least the way I went about things is, I took really, really advantage of the fact that while the pandemic was going on, there was a lot of online tournaments, and so at least I'm actually very grateful that my community was able to just pump out a bunch of tournaments as the pandemic raged on. It's still going on, right? But when it was at its like lockdown period, that's where I felt like that was the strongest. And then what happened with that, as far as like taking all of that footage and then creating a commentary reel, it allowed me to go ahead and apply to the offline events that as soon as they came back from the pandemic, I just shot my shot. And I'm still keeping up with the online stuff. Maybe not as hardcore. So, like, I'm not trying to go to every online event or commentate every event that there is. But because of the fact that I already have my experience, I've already established myself. But I would say that for someone new, that's something that you can do. And then once you get to a point where you're able to take all of that footage and just apply to those offline events, I would say that that's like, there's plenty of ways. If you don't see a link to apply, you can always reach out to the organizers themselves, and they can go ahead and help you out as far as like getting the application in. I like to take the advice that one of my acquaintances in the FGC St. Cola, he gave me, is like, mouths don't get fed until they actually start asking. So you're not gonna get an opportunity if you don't actively try to like say, hey, I'm interested, is it possible you could fit me in, the worst thing that's gonna happen is either A, you get ignored, or B, they just tell you, hey, we're already filled up, but we have you for next time. So yeah.
I think it's much beautiful that the expression we have in Spanish, because in Spanish it's like, que no llora no mama. That's something horrible in Spanish. It's really
If you don't
horrible.
cry, you won't suck tit.
Yeah.
Literally.
No, yeah.
You don't understand me.
To put it bluntly.
I like that you brought up St. Cola, because when I was talking about someone who established chemistry in minute one, that's the guy I was talking about. I think I had been commentating for a month, and someone got sick for a decently big online event, and I got a DM like, hey, you commentated yesterday for me, it went fine, do you want in here? And then they were like, hey, you're gonna do it with St. Cola. And I learned so much from that, doing it with someone who was so much better than me. And just, I learned so much from the way that guy established chemistry and was just a nice, happy-going person who was excited about what he was going into. I really learned a whole lot about that. And speaking of like how you're getting jobs, like, exist, have an online presence, have a Twitter. Twitter's it's an interesting state right now. Have a YouTube account, have a TikTok. That's huge. I have a website, jolenecoder.com, for all your Jolene Coder needs, because that's a joke that was made once, and now I have that. It's important that you are findable and that you are applying to things, because else you're not getting in. I am one of the few people who got into the commentary world because I was asked to. Everyone else I have spoken to was like, I asked if they needed someone. And that is how I got every other role other than my first. Like, and that one came because I was streaming.
Oh.
Like, it was because I was putting myself out there. And you are not gonna get anywhere if you're not asking. And like, this is not my job. I do not make a income from commentating fighting games, but it is something I enjoy. So it is a hobby that I prioritize. And in order to build that, like, I focus on my stream because that is building an audience that wants to see me at events. And that is more reason that someone should choose me over someone else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, of course, with them, and I was going to mention some parts that maybe are not well that common. For example, to have a LinkedIn profile, and I always tend to let's say to make it as professional as it possible. I mean, every time I have an event, to share it there, to mention the game I'm commenting, with whom, with the companies I'm working with, all of my information, like it was a regular job. I mean, outside esports, and the same way to do it in LinkedIn, to have, of course, to make contents that are inside esports and companies. I think that is important too, to make you let's say to sell yourself as a product,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day you are a product that you need to sell in order to get a job. And it's the same thing with social media, with Twitch. You need to create content, just as Jolene mentioned. You need to be like, if they look for a game, for example, if I look for a fighting game, that sometimes here in LATAM we don't have many commentators for fighting games, so there are just a few. Well, when it comes to women, I think I can think of one person only. Imagine. So it's like you
Me
need
too.
to.
I mean, the same person actually.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there are just a few, so it's important to have your Twitter profile that says, "I commend these types of games," for example, because you search for it when you have an event, and you are the first one to appear. And then you talk with a person and to see how you can work with it. And it's the same with any different game. And of course, you need to have like the media kit, we call it here.
Yeah.
That is like the dossiera or CB
Yeah.
reel, with your experience at commenting your events, maybe your rate card, why not, with the fees you manage when it comes to events, all of those things. Even if you are a content creator or a caster, host, anything, I think it's essential to have those things in hand. I mean, updated, just to send through an email, maybe to a company you want to work with. Also, why not? Hey, I am the email. Here's my reel, my CV, everything you want to know. And then they choose, of course. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we need to keep trying, right? That is the idea, to sell yourself. And I think that's the best advice for the new ones. And some commentators are really good and they don't pay attention to that. So it's like you have an opportunity, even though that you have some scenes that are established already, you always have an opportunity to shine, to get a job yourself. So you need to keep trying on that. It's marketing, right? At the end of
Also,
the day.
a thing that I feel like is kind of underrated. Don't be a dingus. Like, don't be rude to people. Don't be mean backstage. Don't be mean in Discords or on Twitter, whatever. There's, at least for me, I am running the invitational button match to prevent here in December. There's people who I was like, on paper, they are a good fit for the event to play, but I'm like, no, I have worked with them before, or I have seen them around, and they have been a negative force in the environment that they're around, and that's why I don't pick them. And it's like, you don't have to be a yes man and stuff, but be pleasant to be around. It's there's nothing worse than when I'm running a show and someone is late, happens. But if they're late and angry about it, that's the last time I'm working with them, because
Yeah.
it's not nice for me.
That sounds pretty obvious, but many people think that personal behavior and professional behavior are quite separate, and they are not. And that leads me to the next question, to the next topic we are talking about today, the do's and don'ts in commentating. So Jolene has brought up don't be a dingus on the backstage.
I don't know
And
if
I
I'm
feel like-
allowed to swear, so I'm just.
You can.
We can actually.
You can do it because we actually say something from Spanish that you can suck a dick. Tits. So don't worry, you can do it. The door is open. The elephant is in the room. We can do it.
Excellent. So don't swear if you've been told not to. Ideally, don't swear at all. Learn how to commentate and speak without swearing. I'm really bad at this. I am learning. I come from Denmark. I come from a tradesman's town. My family swears like sailors. I grew up swearing like sailors. And I have had to learn how not to swear. And I learn up to it. I have made mistakes with that many times. And there's nothing to do but like, I made a mistake. I'm very sorry. I'll try to be better. Like, yeah.
Improve is the key.
So
Saki Sakura.
don't swear if you aren't allowed. Do apologize.
That's it. And sometimes I know swearing comes off natural, and Spain is a country in which everyone swears from now to then. And Saki Sakura, I would like to ask you about do's and don'ts on commentating.
Yeah, so big don't is definitely, well, I would actually say that like the biggest thing you could do is you have to treat commentary as professional. And no matter what, you have to understand that you're on camera, you're like, that's not going to change. And you have to appear in a certain professional way. Now, regardless if an event is very casual or not, at the end of the day, it's still like a job. So you could fit that, like, for example, if it's a casual attire, you know, wear casual, but that doesn't mean that you're slouching on the chair or you're kind of just like this. I also kind of hate to say it, but like, unfortunately, when it comes to commentary and any public like visual or public like speaking opportunity, it sucks that maybe not so much the audience, but the people who are in the industry, they're watching your every step. And especially when it comes to women in like commentary, they're even like tougher on that. So like for me, I've felt pressure where I've had to like, in compared to like my caster who's in like a tank top, right? I can't be in a tank top. It sucks. I hate it, and it shouldn't be that way, right? But
especially in summer,
I know it's really frustrating when you like, again, like you look at a couple of majors and you're seeing people in like their tank tops, in their like summers or whatever, like really casual outfit, but then you have like someone like me who I'm treating it as a job, so of course I'm going to try to come looking my best, 10 out of 10, but that's me, like that's something that I treat it. So my biggest thing here is making sure that you're coming in with that professional attitude no matter what type of event it is. And then of course the cursing part, the biggest thing is making sure it doesn't get too much, right? Like it doesn't matter if it's super hype, it doesn't matter if things are going like really crazy. Understanding that your commentary, your voice is going to be the last thing those audiences are going to hear, right? And if you're spending time on like, I have so many examples, but like the biggest one that I can like just give off the top of my head is like, there was someone who was commentating a Power Rangers tournament and decided to like use a bunch of street terms and a bunch of descriptions on how the player, how the character was playing, not the player, on how the character was playing, and it came across very much sexist and very much aggressive.
Ugh.
And it's like, you may do that in your events, and you may like, some people may allow that for you, but you can't be going around and doing that. Like, you're going to come to a point where there's an event that's going to literally deny you an opportunity, and that's exactly what happened. That person can't really grow any more than what they're growing now, because of the fact that that's always going to be his thing. So commentating overboard, trying to use like too much personal stories that are gonna be like that border, like reaching that borderline, is a huge no-no. You should keep it very like professional, very like, hey, be hype, but don't go off and start dropping like F-bombs or start describing things that are like, again, in your house you can do it, but not on your like on commentary. And my last thing is like, if you're not going to say that to your grandmother, to your mom, to your family, then you shouldn't be saying it on stream either.
And if you do,
Because we
please
want more
avoid it.
grandmothers watching esports. Like, we want larger audiences, right? We want people to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
My mom watches me sometimes.
Yes.
Yes, my mom too.
It's crazy because a lot of kids also watch, like, you would think, right? But a lot of kids do watch Mortal Kombat. And, you know, like, there's families that are like showcasing the tournaments. And, you know, you can say that like with Mortal Kombat it's rated M and stuff, but like, if there's a commentator that's just dropping F-bombs and matching the same rating as the Mortal, not the Mortal Kombat, but as the game, then you're not helping the situation. In fact, you're worsening it, and you're losing opportunities and forcing the game to lose opportunities as well.
Yeah. I totally agree, and talking about Mortal Kombat, that's a shame, because Mortal Kombat is right now one of the most underrated sports fighting game. What about Lizard Queen? Do's and don'ts on commentary.
Okay. I can start with a don't that was not mentioned about the taking care of the company you are working with. I mean, the productora would say we will call it in
Producer.
Spanish, the
The
producer. I would say
Yeah.
yes. I think that's the one. I mean, to have a nice treat to them, because sometimes you can have mistakes. Of course, I mean, I have colleagues that appear, for example, I don't know, eating in camera because they show them in a moment that was not supposed to be. Yeah, like that. And of course, that's a mistake. And it's okay. It can happen to anyone, even though the most professional producer worldwide. It can happen, right? In league world finals, we can have mistakes and disconnections and pauses and all of that. And you need to be able to to have a good attitude about it, not to be mad to anyone. It's not anyone's fault. At the time you smile, you continue talking, everything is okay, we are glad, don't worry. You don't even have to mention there are problems. You can say, well, we will keep some we will wait for some minutes and then we continue with the show. Everything is okay. I think that is important too, because it happened to me that, I don't know, I have a colleague that mentioned, oh, there's a huge problem with a player that got disconnected. You shouldn't mention that, because that's not good for the company.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, maybe they won't say it to you because it's the truth, but you need to know to keep it to your own, right? And it's like, it's not good for anyone, because they will look bad, then you will look bad too. And that is important too. And maybe they mention off camera, and we should take it into account. And it's part of the professional attitude that Saki mentioned, right? That is the idea, to be professional all the time. And of course, with the language, you need to take care of the way you pronounce things. For example, it happened to me with the brand. We say, in Argentina, we call it like Logitech, and it is called Logitech. And
Oh.
for me, that I know English, it's okay. But there are colleagues that have a hard time saying Logitech. But we need to
Ah.
learn it, right? The difference to proper pronounce it. The same, it's Wild Rift, nor Wild Rift, right? I mean, Mortal Kombat, you need to pronounce it in a proper way. I think all those things are important and part of the knowledge of the game also. So I think there are details that are important, and sometimes people just leave them. It's okay, but you can work on that. I mean, it's part of your job. You can pay attention to that too. I think that is important. And about the do, I would say to show excitement, to be passionate, to let your partner talk. That is important too. I mean, to have that. You say it like this chemistry to be able to have like anyone should have their own time to speak, and that is important too. And well, I think that's it for the do and don'ts.
So that's some clever advice for our audience and casters to be. And we are running out of time. But for wrapping up, I would like to ask you about a highlight on your story as a commentator. On how
A
you end
little
up.
sentence if it's possible, because we understand it's important to
Yeah.
have the time. So, one short sentence. What you can say?
One short highlight on your career as a commentator. And
I
we're
raised
starting with
900
Jolene.
euros. Yeah, I raised 900 euros for charity during Bottom Match for Peace. And I sat down afterwards and cried, realizing I used this speaky thing to do good in the world, and that's sick.
Yeah.
What about Saki Sakura?
Do you mind asking the question real quick? It's just because like I had a
Yeah.
little bit of a blip on
A
connection.
highlight in your career as a commentator.
Oh my god. That's a
In a nutshell, if it's possible.
yeah. I would say it would have to be Evo, but there's definitely more coming. So
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Exciting news. And you, Lisa? Oh,
I would say casting the first regional and worlds from Wild Rift, because it was the first and the last one. Sadly, it finished, but I was there in 2 years, so that was it. It was the best.
Amazing.
more things will comment. So thank you so much, everyone, for this roundtable discussion. It has been really interesting. It has been also really insightful to learn from all your jobs. And thank you so much for your times and help.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for the audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. We have learned a lot. And thank you so much to Jolene, to Saki Sakura, and to the Lizard Queen. And we're seeing you, all the audience, in further programs to come this week in Sports Be Live. We have corporate, we have workers, we have innovation, and so on. So may you have a very nice week full of beautiful games like Mortal Kombat, Guilty Gear, League of Legends, whatever your poison. So see you soon and have fun playing beautiful games. See you soon. Bye bye.
See you, everyone.
And thank you to Jasmina.
Thank you.
Thanks to Jasmina for being an awesome partner as always. Bye bye.
Bye.